Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
Welcome to the show. This is your host, Mike Walters, along with my co-host, Eddie Richard, and we are back with lots of Ducks news to talk about as the Ducks made a recent trade, getting Chris Kreider, so we will dive into that. Free agency is around the corner, so there's a ton of other players that we're going to talk about, probably about 10 players or so on this show that we'll discuss. And we will also look at a handful of players that the Ducks could draft at the 10th spot if they don't trade that spot. And then some league news as well. As you know, the Stanley Cup final is going on right now, an epic battle that we will discuss towards the end of the show. So we will dive into all that. It'll be a jam-packed show. But before I get into that, Eddie, what have you been up to? I know I've been super busy with work lately, and I've been catching up and watching all the games. What have you been doing?
Mike, I feel like I don't even know you anymore. I haven't talked to you in it's been a few months or a few weeks. It always feels like it's much longer than that. But I've been good. Just been working and doing my thing, I guess. Watching the Stanley Cup playoffs and watching all this Ducks trade news and what's going on with the Ducks. I'm doing well. I do want to throw this out there real quick. I know it's Father's Day weekend, so I want to wish everyone that's a father that's listening to our show a happy Father's Day. So much love to you and happy Father's Day.
Yes, exactly. Happy Father's Day to everybody else out there. Hope you all have a good weekend. All right, let's just dive into it. The Ducks made a trade. I feel, what's kind of funny before we actually talk about the analytical part or whatever on this trade is this trade was the slowest developing trade I think in the history of the Anaheim Ducks. I mean this trade what was it, Wednesday night? It was Saravelli saying that they were discussing. Then it was it's going to happen Thursday. Then Thursday it was well, he's got to waive his no trade clause. And then it was Friday came, and you're waiting Friday, and then finally later in the day it was announced. I was like, oh my god, this is the most anticlimactic news once it came out, because it was pretty much a done deal. It sounded like it didn't really sound like it was in jeopardy. It was kind of finalizing some of the pieces in there, because there was different discussions about prospects and who it was going to be. They were saying Kerry Terrence was going to be in there, and then the Ducks were going to send a pick, and then another pick, ended up coming back the other way from New York. So we had Lou Ann Sin on Instagram ask, what do you think about the Kreider trade and him coming to Anaheim? And we'll dive into it. And my initial reaction is I do like the trade. I know a lot of people are super excited about it. I think he does bring a lot and he can help the team. I think, temper my expectations a little bit. And I know Eddie and I talked about this during the week while the trade was going down because of the injury stuff he had last year. He had back spasms, vertigo, and then he injured his hand around the Four Nations time. So, which he did address some of that in some interviews with the Ducks and stuff. So there's some of that going on. He had 22 goals last season, which is nothing to sniff at. In 68 games despite being injured, and obviously the seasons before with 30 plus, and then a couple seasons before that with the 50. So the guy can score. But what are your thoughts? I mean, after it was finally announced, that's why I even put in the post, I said, that the Ducks acquire Kreider, finally. But how do you feel about this trade? A lot of people I feel are super excited about it, and I am too, but I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess I could say, Eddie.
Yeah, I can agree with you. I totally agree. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't know. I know he can score. He's a big body. He loves to go to those dirty areas. He loves to be in front of the net, which I like. I'm that type of player too. So I like that, but it's just for some reason I don't know what Chris Drury has on the Ducks. But we took on Trouba's contract. We took on now Kreider's contract. It's about $16 million we took on. I think we should have got a little bit more. The injuries kind of concern me a little bit, but if he can get back to form and kind of have that identity and form that identity, which I always talk about and Ducks should do, then he'll be good. But I'm kind of like on the fence. I'm just kind of shaking my hand a little bit. I'm not really sure how I feel about this trade right now, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it, when it first came out and they said that it was going to be Carey, Terrence, and a pick just for Kreider, I was kind of like, okay. And then, later on the Ducks did get another pick, and it was a swap of third and fourth round picks, a difference of 15 spots, the 89th pick and the 104th pick. Not terrible there, but at least we did get a pick back. Even though you moved down a little bit, but I wasn't worried about that. Carey Terrence, I don't see him in the long-term plan for the Ducks. So for that, I wasn't too concerned with that. But yeah, a lot of this was weird. Like you were talking about, is we weren't sure about him waiving his no trade clause. When that came out, you and I were talking about it, and we were kind of like, okay, well, he's going to have to do that. The Ducks are a team on his list. How is that going to go? They've got to be able to convince him of that. But apparently in the interviews, a lot of things went down. Coach Quenneville was a huge reason why he wanted to come and play. Elliot Freeman talked about that on his recent 32 Thoughts podcast. And as you mentioned, Trouba came over, so that was one of his teammates. He also played with Strome and Vetrano. And if you didn't know, he's good friends with Trevor Zegras and works out with Trevor Zegras all the time. So there's all those connections there. So I joked. I saw someone post something, and they said it was the Rangers West team, and I said no. I'm calling us the Anaheim Rangers, but now I think we are the Mighty Rangers of Anaheim is our new team name.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I was thinking about that. I might even title that as this podcast. I might call ourselves the Mighty Rangers of Anaheim now that the Ducks have 4 players from the Rangers, which is just crazy. But that's the way it went. So a lot of it was the connection with the players. And as we suspected, bringing in Quenneville, luring other players to come in, playing for him, that was part of the mix too. So that part I do all like, and I mean I understand that makes sense why he waived. Obviously, all those guys were talking to him about this. They reached out to him. They're talking back and forth, especially Zegras too. So there was a lot of influence in that, which made it work out. So I do like that. The things that you mentioned too, I like that he's a big guy. He is a guy that's going to go into the net. He's scored a third of his goals on the power play. So it's got to help the Ducks power play. And then, yeah, absolutely. And then he can play on the penalty kill too. So I think part of it is he's going to see a lot of minutes. As long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be playing in all aspects of the game. So I welcome that. There was talk about his hand and whether or not he needed surgery. He mentioned in the interview about his hand thing, but he was talking about a lot of training and different treatments and things like that. So I don't know. He didn't mention anything about it, so maybe he won't need hand surgery. But yeah, I mean, part of it is 2-year deal. $6.5 million cap hit each year. The Ducks still have $32 million in cap space under Puckpedia. So I mean, we still have a lot of room to do things. So I mean, all in all, I do think it's a good deal, and I think it's going to help out the Ducks. I'm hoping that if he can drop 30 goals next season, that would be phenomenal. That's kind of, I hate to put the pressure on the guy like that, but I mean, he got 22 in 68 games, and he was hurt multiple times. So if he can stay healthy, he has a chance. I mean, as of right now, pending other moves, which we're going to dive into those because the Ducks are very, very active. I mean, he would have been the leading scorer last year. McTavish had 22 goals, and he had 22 goals. So, I mean, he would be the leading scorer on the Ducks if he was able to do that this coming season, Eddie.
Yeah, Ducks are beefing up. They want to get big. They want to get physical. They want people to go and like you said, crash the net and get in those dirty areas. And I love it. Like, this Ducks team, and we've been in blackballed, and we've been in the hole for how many years, Mike? Like, I think this team's going to thrive. Like, they're gonna shoot up and be crazy. Chris Kreider, I hope that he can bring the form of those goals with him, and this injury plague that he had in the last few seasons doesn't come and translate over here to Anaheim. But I'm looking forward to what's going to happen, and this team's going to be good. And I know, like, we've been hearing from Elliot Friedman and all those other analysts about the Ducks are all in. They want to bring in the best players, and they want to win. They don't want to lose anymore. They want to go to the playoffs, and they want to just go out there and translate what they do on the ice.
Yeah, I mean it's true, and that's what I'm curious too. He brings in that locker room thing too as well. So there's that too, being a guy that he knows 4 people on the team, and he's going to be that kind of veteran presence in the net, and he's only going to be on the team, well, at least as far as we know, for 2 seasons right now. So the other part of it is, yeah, the Ducks are going to go big. They're going to try and go out there and swing for the fences and whatnot. So that's going to be a key here. We've got a lot of other players to talk about for the Ducks, coming in the mix. A lot of you had questions and stuff about, who else will the Ducks go for? You had Dixie Olde on Instagram says, will the Ducks be going after any big name free agents? You had John H1222, should the Ducks go after Mitch Marner? J.M. Headley, if we miss out on Marner, who's your second choice? So now the stage is kind of set, right? The Ducks have gone out. They've already taken one swing. Also, Verbeek had talked about in his interviews that, hey, I'm still going to keep going. I'm still trying to add pieces to fix parts of this team and keep going. He's not stopping. So he absolutely are the Ducks in the mix for sure. And there's a lot of names out there that we can dive into. Some of them we talked about in the last show, but we'll talk a little bit more here. I think there's a mix here that Eddie and I have talked about. There's some that are free agents, and there are some that we can look to trading, right? So kind of go, I guess, the 2 big names now that are out there. Mitch Marner obviously is the one that there's been reports that the Ducks are going to try to do $14 million amount with attempt with him, which we also heard Vegas is in the mix, or LA's in the mix, other teams are in the mix. I think that's a hard. Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. I just threw up right now.
You okay?
Mitch Marner at 14. It made me throw up. Go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but that just made me throw up a little bit. So go ahead.
Oh, I was like, wait, what's going on? Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. You were on a roll. Sorry about that.
No, that was good because we did talk about Mitch Marner last time, and Eddie and I are both in agreement. We think $14 million is too much, and we'll go a little bit more of that. But there was also talk. Elliot Freeman on his last podcast said, "What about Tavares?" And Tavares is at around $11 million, right? Throwing him out there. So you got Toronto's going through all this turmoil, right? They're talking about unloading players and all this stuff, but Eddie and I talked about this, and I know some people out there are like, oh my God, Mitch Marner, like get Mitch Marner, and all this stuff. And yes, the Ducks have a lot of cap space still. They do have to figure out Dostal and McTavish, so they gotta figure out those guys and see how much that's going to cost. If they do a bridge deal with McTavish, which I think they're going to do, Dostal, I don't know if they will do that or not. We'll have to see, but they still got ways to work out and try and get these guys. But I don't know, Mitch Marner. Yes, the guy scored 100 points last season in the regular season. He doesn't always come through in the playoffs. Tavares, $11 million, not as bad. Those are some of those guys out of Toronto you could look at. I think the Ducks honestly are in on every big name offensive player this summer. I really think any player you think they're out there, and I think they're going to take a swing at. So, answering some of these fan questions, are the Ducks going to go after Mitch Marner? I think yes, they are, but I'm very nervous about the price, and that's what Eddie said with his comments. So, what do you think about Toronto and their situation? Like, I know you and I are kind of like, we'll take Marner, but depends on the cost. If he's not available, would you try to go for Tavares, or what do you think about the Toronto situation, and then how that figures into this with the Ducks, Eddie?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Toronto. Like, they have an all-star team. They have elite players. They have Austin Matthews, which arguably is probably I'm gonna say a top 6 or 7 player in the world. But they just can't get it together. Like, they can't get over the playoff hump. And if any Canadian team that would win the Stanley Cup, I would want Toronto. I think they deserve it. Marner, he's a good player. He had 95 points, or he was in the high 90s this season. But in the playoffs, he was invisible. and he was a ghost, and he was soft. Like, in the playoffs, you have to grind. You have to go over there, and you have to use your body. I don't care if you're a forward or not. Block shots, block pucks, get in there, physicality, but he's not. And I was joking around with you, Mike, about me throwing up because anything giving him $14 million is just insane to me. It's just ludicrous and crazy. He's not going to be a player that can get and elevate you to the playoffs. I mentioned too offline talking to you about Sam Bennett. That guy, what he's making right now and what he's doing, he's a player you want. But Mitch Marner, oh no, hell no. I don't think he'll be a player that will elevate our game and get us to that point where we want to be.
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's that other question too that J.M. Headley asked. If we miss out on Marner, who else do you go for? I mean, Sam Bennett's amazing. I mean, we'll talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs, towards the league news section at the end. But that's a guy right now that's only getting paid $4.5 million. I mean, holy crap! Obviously, he's going to want more as a UFA. There's been conflicting reports if he's going to stay in Florida or not. Obviously, they're kind of a little busy right now. They're kind of playing in some kind of big series called the Stanley Cup Final because. I was laughing. I saw some reports out there. Someone said something where they were like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna hit the market and be trading and all this stuff." I can't remember who it was, and then someone else commented. They're like, "The team's a little busy to talk about contracts right now." And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah." So we don't know the situation with Sam Bennett. What's gonna happen? He's gonna be a UFA pending, right? So, but I'm saying. Instead of spending, if you're one of those people that are listening, you're like, you guys are crazy. Spend the $14 million on Marner. Okay, cool. I understand. That's what you want to do. But how about this? What if you could take 14 or 15 million and spend it on Sam Bennett and Robertson? How about that? I'd rather take those two guys, right? You got Robertson's in his last year, $7.75 million in Dallas. There's been all kinds of talks about him going out there. Merrick's talked about the Ducks and the connection with him on his podcast, the Sheet podcast. If you haven't heard it, it's pretty good. They tag us on Instagram and stuff like that and share their videos. But they have a pretty good show. So for me, you make a trade to Dallas. You get Robertson. You take on the 7.75. Who cares? You throw at them some prospects and picks. Maybe you try to do something similar to with the Kreider trade. You may have to dive into somebody else. I know Eddie and I kind of talked about this before the show. Like you might have to give up one of the younger defensemen. And I know people are going to probably lose their mind when we talk about this, but you've got Helleson, Zellweger, and Minchukov that were all kind of those guys that were getting rotated. I don't know. Maybe that's something that might go into this if you're going to try to trade for somebody, right? If that's what Dallas would like, if they're looking for a young upcoming defenseman, unless the Ducks are going to try and trade one of their offensive players. But I don't really see that right now. I don't see the Ducks trying to trade away Carlson or Gauthier. Especially none of the players connected to Kreider now that he's here. They're definitely not trading Terry or Zegras now. So I don't see the Ducks trading any of their core young players in the forward area. I would think if they make a run at Robertson, maybe it's one of those guys. I'd hate to see Minty or Zelli or Helleson go, but I'm just saying if you can get a Kreider-like trade out of Dallas, if you can trade them some younger prospect upcoming, maybe a pick or two somehow in there to make it work. Then maybe you get it done. Then if Bennett does not stay in Florida, he's obviously going to want more. He's going to want the way he's been playing. He's going to want $7-8 million at least. But the Ducks could do it. They could get those two guys. So for me, that's kind of the play that I look at. There are a bunch of other players we'll get to. I mean, it's just such a crazy summer. But if we're talking about these big name guys that could be available via trade or free agency. If I was to get between Marner, Tavares, Bennett, or Robertson, two of the four, money-wise and helping this team, for me, I would go with Bennett and Robertson, Eddie.
Yeah, but Mike, you know what? Bennett, to come to Anaheim, it's going to be $10 million.
You're probably right.
Maybe 9.5, but $10 million, he has to come over here for $10 million. Like, yeah, obviously he can go to Vegas or Dallas or Florida or Tampa or stay in Florida. Because they have no state tax. But we have state tax in California. With the whole political climate, too, you have to factor that. Like, people don't want to be here. Like, would you want to raise a family if you had a choice in California? What's going on now? No, you have to factor that kind of thing in, too. I would love it. It'd be awesome if we can get Bennett. And then Robo, yeah, he grew up in Irvine, so he's a kind of I guess a Cali boy. He's a good player. He's a sick player. It would be awesome to get him, but it just we have to factor in that you have to pay more money if you're the Anaheim Ducks to get these like high star players and to do something, especially what's going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right too. With Bennett, it probably is going to be closer to $10 million coming to Anaheim with the offset of the taxes and things like that. So, and again, he may not be available. We don't even know yet. You got to get the Stanley Cup final done and all that. I just throw his name out there because that's another one that people are talking about and in the mix. So, just another person to keep an eye on. Real quick too, we are still part of the Old City Sports Network. Check out all our sponsors. They're in the description box. OCSN is the discount code. Most of the codes get you 15-20% off, so check those out. Some of the other players to talk about, Eddie. I call this like the oldie but goodie section, I guess. I don't know. We've kind of mentioned them, but I think we did talk about Toews on the last show. It's full throttle. He's coming back to the season or to the NHL the next season for sure. We know that. His name has been all over the place with people. Obviously, Anaheim was mentioned with the connection to Coach Q. There's been other reports of Toronto and Winnipeg possibly being in on him. So that's another name that's floated out there. Also, Patrick Kane is another UFA. Is he another one that wants to come play for Coach Q? He was paid $4 million by Detroit last year and had 21 goals and 32 assists in 72 games. So those are a couple out there. Another one that's playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs that a lot of people talk about, Corey Perry, right? They said that Corey Perry wants to play, or he said actually that he's going to play another year for sure. He's only getting paid $1 million by the Oilers. Leading all-time, Stanley Cup Finals goal scorer now with all the goals that he's had because he's been in like every Stanley Cup final it seems like since he's left the Ducks.
Yeah, six of them.
Yeah. So what about? I guess this is the kind of our next tier, right? We talked about like the big four that we've talked about. This would be the tier of maybe these are the guys you bring in for a year or two max. The ones that have been connected to either to the team or Coach Q. What do you think about Toews, Kane, or Perry? Would you try to bring any one of these three guys in? I don't think you try to bring all three, but would you try to bring one or two or any of them? Or are you good? You rather go with the big guys and then let the young kids roll?
Well, I like Toews. I think he's a bona fide leader. He's kind of like similar to Getzlaf. Getzlaf, in my opinion, I think he was the greatest captain in Ducks history. People can debate about that, but I think he was. Patrick Kane is a winner. He's Mr. USA. He knows how to win, and he knows pretty much like how to put the team first. I'd be cool with that. Corey Perry, don't think he's gonna leave Edmonton. I think he's having a good season over there. I think he found a team that he wants to retire with, and I think with that said, he's gonna just stay over there. But it'd be cool to have Toews and Kane on the Ducks.
Yeah, I mean they could do it depending on what happens with those other big name players like we talked about, right? And what happens with Dostal is a big factor in this whole thing. Obviously, as we're talking about all this, but if you get Toews at 1 year at $1 million or $2 million, you bring in Kane, maybe you pay Kane $2 or $3 million, or somewhere in there, or between the two of them. If you can get those two guys between $5-6 million each for a year, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I mean, that's the thing. Coach Q knows both these guys very, very well, so I'm good with that. Perry, I know a lot of people are big on that. I'm not as big on that. I mean, I would love it if he did come back and play one more year and then he retired as a Duck one last year with the team. I would love it. But I just don't know. I don't know how that's going to pan out because remember, he, the way he left Anaheim was not on his own terms. So I don't think there's sour grapes there. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm just saying that was something that happened when he left. So I don't know. Is he still good with the owners and coming back? Or does he want to keep playing with Edmonton, like you said, or another team? But those are three other names to look at. I mean, this is just such a crazy summer that I can remember for the Ducks. Because like you said, since 2018, we haven't been in the mix. We haven't been in a playoff game since then. I mean, we've been these last 6-7 years. have been extremely rough. I mean, last year we did a little bit and went more up, but yeah. So that's the other tier of players to look at. I call it the oldie but goodie section, just because of the connection with Q and with Perry being on the team. I guess the next little group here is more of the I would call these the under the radar type players that may be available to the Ducks. I don't know if they're in on them, but some of the other names that have been floated out there, maybe not as big of names, I guess, but I mean they kind of are big names, but I guess the availability is the question for these players. But you've got Vladimir Tarasenko. He's got 1 year left at $4.75 million with Detroit. Kind of tapered off, had 11 goals last season. You got Marco Rossi in Minnesota. There's been conflicting reports on Jonathan Marchessault with Nashville. I saw some stuff saying that, they're looking to move him. Then I've seen others saying, no, they're not even talking about anything like that at all. So,
Well, it's Vegas, too,
right.
Mike. Vegas is unpredictable.
Right.
They just do things on impulse.
Right. Well, that's the thing. With him, I don't know if he would go back from Nashville to Vegas. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, that's something to look at, too. So, I mean, those are some of the ones that are kind of in there. Another one is, the other one that's interesting is, and you have more insight on this, is Colorado. What do you think about Colorado with Coyle? They're saying, he's got 1 year left at 5.25. What about his status? Or even some of the other players on Colorado? I know you've heard some rumblings there, too.
Yeah, I think Coyle will be traded. I don't see him working out. Like, you're paying someone $5.2 million to be on your third line. I think Coyle is kind of the odd man out. You have Landeskog back, which God gracious, he came back and he played really well. I think Landeskog is going to kind of regain his form and kind of solidify that spot. Coyle is something else. Sam Girard, too, has been another person on Colorado that's been rumored to be traded. They have some cap hell issues. The whole Landeskog, the Rantanen thing backfired on them. So this is another thing that the Ducks can actually take advantage of and kind of trade up with them or trade a player, get some cap space, get something going on for them. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like, and Mike, and you said too, like, the whole thing with Anaheim this offseason, I think it's gonna be one of the biggest off seasons that we ever had in Ducks history.
I agree. What do you think about Natchez and his situation?
Yeah, see, that's weird. He looked good with McKinnon, but now there's rumblings that he's not happy in Colorado and he was upset about the trade. And, okay, do you want to keep a player that's not going to be around? Do you want to try to do a contract extension? There's nothing in the rumblings about him wanting to sign with Colorado in the future. So it's like, okay, so now what do you do? I think Colorado dropped the ball. McFarland and Sakic need to talk and try to figure this out.
Yeah, and that's one guy in this group, like Tarasenko, Rossi. Don't know about Marchessault. I mean, if he's available, whatever. But and we know the Ducks did try and take a swing at Marchessault before, and that didn't work out. So I don't see any of those. I don't know if those guys will move on to other teams or not, but I don't see them coming to Anaheim. Coyle, like you said. But Natchez is one, I guess, is kind of a sleeper one that I'm kind of curious to see because he plays center and right wing. The other...
He's fast. Right. He's really fast, too.
Right, and his cap is 6.5 right now. He's got another year going, so I mean that's a guy I'd look at. The other consideration to talk about, we've talked a lot about offense and all these players. We've talked a lot about scoring, helping out on the power play, cap hit, right? Obviously, there's a lot of room in the cap hit, but we're also trying to figure out these pieces of the puzzle with the RFAs. The Ducks got 5 RFAs. And we know that McTavish and Dostal will take the most bulk of that money. But the other question, too, is the lineup with the Ducks. If the Ducks keep getting left wingers, you got to figure that out because, the other piece of that puzzle is some people are talking about Seneca coming up. Where is he going to play? I know Verbeek doesn't want to rush him, so I'm not worried about that. If he's not able to come up and get into the lineup, that doesn't freak me out. I think another year for him is good. I'm not worried about that. I do think part of the piece of this puzzle, though, is you load up on these wingers, right, left and right wingers, if that's what we end up doing. And I agree with you. This is like the biggest summer, I think, for the Ducks of moves and things that are going to go on. Then what you need to do is you need to take Zegras and play him at center. Stop playing him at wing. Get him at center in there. If we're going to load up on all these wingers, especially on the team. That's the other thing. At Natchez, he's a center. You got to figure that out, how he would factor into it. But one thing I do like, no matter how the chips fall with all these players and who the Ducks, I do think the Ducks are going to at least make one more move. At least. I think probably two more moves. That's just the rumblings that are out there are so crazy right now in a good way for this team. But what I do like about Coach Q is that's helping bring in people. But the other thing, and you know this too, Eddie, Coach Q will take players and play them to their strengths, which was a big problem that we had with Cronin. Cronin was trying to get players to do things, out of the norm. Yes, he did get Zegras to play more of a two-way defensive game and some of the guys to, be more balanced two-way players. He did do that. You got to give him some credit for that. But you and I talk about this all the time. What makes a great coach, right, is getting those lines figured out, playing to players' strengths, getting the chemistry and putting them together. So that's another piece of this puzzle when they're looking at all these players. And you've touched on some of these, like you talked about Natchez coming over. We talked about Robertson coming over. How do they fit into the lineup? And I think that was going back to the discussion with Kreider in the beginning. I think that's what they looked at. You had a guy that's played with, three other guys on this team and works out practices with another guy. So you're looking at, can you, look at Kreider and Zegras on a line together, right? I mean, holy shit. Or Kreider with Strome and Vetrano. I mean, that's a good line. That'd be a good line. Yeah, that'd be a good
look
line. At how Kreider's going to fit. You got, I've seen people posting all kinds of line combinations online, and I'm looking at that. You could have the former Rangers line for the Ducks. You could have Strome, Vetrano, and Kreider on a line, and I think that line would kick some serious ass. I think that would be a great line. But if you want to throw Kreider and Zegras on a line together too, I'm not opposed to that. What I like is bringing him in. There's a lot of options with this team, and I think that's what you got to look at with these players. Natchez brings a lot of options to this team. He can play center. He can play wing. I like that. Robertson brings in options to this team too, and would help out this team. So, yeah, that's the one thing, Eddie, is like you said about having the biggest summer for the Ducks in a long time, or maybe even ever. I am super excited about this team and where they're going to go and what is going to happen. I am just pumped up. Getting the Kreider thing, to me, like we said, I like the trade. I didn't think overall necessarily it was the greatest trade. Like I said, I thought it was a pretty good trade. But the part that I liked about it, which doesn't really necessarily involve the trade, is that people are trying to still come here now. Like you said, you have the politics here, and you have the taxes and the cost of living and all those other kind of things that for lack of a better term, suck out here. But if you have Coach Q and you're able to get Kreider over here, then who else, who's coming next? That's what I gotta look at, Eddie.
Yeah, and you want to win.
Right.
Like the whole goal in hockey and being a professional athlete is winning. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll go move to somewhere where I don't agree with their politics or whatever's going on. But hey, if I want to go somewhere and win, I'm going to go there and win. I think the Ducks made great strides. And Verbeek, he's doing whatever it takes to get that winning mentality. Coach Q was controversial, and people were pissed off about it. I was too.
We both were.
You know what? This team is, yeah, we both were. But this team is now looking more dangerous. Like, I'm excited for the next season. Like, this season's going to be big for the Ducks. This offseason's going to be huge, like we talked about. Huge for the Ducks. We're going to get people that want to come here because they want to win. That's it.
I agree. 1,000%. And that's what it's looking at. So, yeah, keep your eyes on the ground. We mentioned about a dozen players here, that just ones that are out there. We kind of broke it down. You had like the top name ones that we've heard the Ducks name in there. We've got some of the ones that maybe they bring back on a year or two deal. I told you, the oldie but goodies. And then some of these that are kind of flying under the radar. It's kind of how we broke down those free agents / trade targets. We kind of just lumped it together because there's just so much going on. But the other part of this too is you have the draft that's going to be coming up. The Ducks, pending if they don't trade, They're 10th. We remember there was rumors last time that they were trying to trade up with Montreal, and it didn't pan out. So I wouldn't put that to bed. You never know. Verbeek might try to trade up, but we've got about 5 players to discuss here that we looked at that are potentials at 10th. We're not going to go 1 through 10. It's going to take too long. But if the Ducks stay at 10, there's 5 guys. I like them all, that are potentials that Eddie and we almost came up with the same list on our own, which is kind of funny. But the big one that's been out there, and Scott Wheeler also mentioned this guy, is Roger McQueen, which I love. I love the name. I hear McQueen, I think of Cars Land.
Oh, yeah.
Disneyland, Cars Land.
Remember Steve McQueen,
right.
too? There's an actor, Steve McQueen.
Right. So I just love it. I'm like, yeah, all right, cool, So that's kind of one of the biggest ones out there. We'll talk about him a little bit briefly, and then we got 4 other guys. But apparently the Ducks met with him, and one of the scouts or somebody said they went out to, quote, a sneaky dinner. So whatever that means, they went out to some kind of undercover dinner. But that obviously signals the Ducks are interested in him. But looking at the scouting report, going back to the theme that you talked about, Eddie, too, and looking at the free agents and trade targets and even previous drafts, he's a big kid, 6'5", 192, a skilled center. Good with the puck and positioning, and he likes to go to the net, which we talked about, and he takes hits. So I like this kid. I mean, if the Ducks get him at 10th, I would be ecstatic. I like everything I've seen about him. Not really many knocks on him other than his defense. He needs to work on defense, which, I mean, that's a lot of young forwards. A lot of young forwards, their two-way game comes later, but. What do you think about him? And then we can kind of talk about some of the others. I'm really big on McQueen. I really hope that they draft him 10th, Eddie, if he's there.
Oh, yeah. Mike, he's big. He's physical. He gets to the net. He's everything I want in a player. Holy crap. How can you not? I mean, yeah, he got knocked. I think he has some injury issues going on, into the draft. That's why he's lower at 10. I think he'd be a top 5 player in the draft, or top 5 draft pick, but that'd be awesome. I wouldn't be opposed to the Ducks trading the 10th overall pick to get some more help, some more scoring, or some more physicality. So that would be mine. But if they didn't trade that, Roger McQueen would be my number 1. I've talked to you about this too, offline. I've talked to you. Roger McQueen's probably my number 1 pick if the Ducks went that route.
Yeah, I think we're in total agreement too. I mean, absolutely. Now, if they don't trade up or McQueen gets picked, a couple other forwards that they could look at. You have Jake O'Brien and Brady Martin. Also pretty big guys, 6'2" and 6 foot, 170, 187. Both guys, kind of their scouting reports are very similar. They're both two-way centers with, they handle the puck very well. Martin's pretty physical, but so is O'Brien. They both like to go into the dirty areas, will grind it out. They both look like guys that would be very, very good at center as well. They talk about O'Brien's at 6'2", 170. They say he needs to add a little bit of strength and muscle. Again, that's.
Oh yeah, he definitely.
But that's something with a lot of these guys too, right? A lot of these guys, forward wise, they need to add strength or muscle or work on their two-way game. That's kind of a common theme. But you have that with him, and then with Brady Martin, they say that he sometimes he'll create turnovers on defense, but he'll also turn over the puck. His puck handling isn't always the greatest. But these are two alternatives, Eddie. If you don't get McQueen, would you like O'Brien or Martin?
I'll probably pick Brady Martin. He's more physical than Jack O'Brien. So I want the Ducks to be more identified as a hard-nosed team to play against. I always told you too, Mike, this team has no identity and they need to be physical. They were soft. People ran into Gibson and Dostal, and no one came to their defense. We need more of a physicality team. If you want to be the best, you got to kind of get yourself into the best, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that is a key part of it is defending the goalies too, and that's why there's some options at defense too. They could look at. There's a couple guys that I'll throw out here too. A couple more big kids. You got Kayshawn Aitchison and Radom Marka. Aitchison is 6'1", 198. Marco's a big kid, man. 6'6", 218.
Oh,
I mean, he's my size. I'm like, Jesus, dude, this is a big dude. I like both of these. Scouting report, they both like to throw their body around and be be physical. They think Marca could be a little bit more physical, I guess, with his size. He's a good two-way defenseman. Aitchison is more shut down, I guess, is what they're talking about in the scouting reports, and seems to be better on the power play, though he does tend to take a lot of penalties. So I don't like that. I'm not a fan of someone that, and we need disciplined people too, like you said, Eddie. You want people that are physical, that are going to protect your goalie, go into the dirty areas.
No, hell no, Mike. I don't. I want someone to take penalties, like be dirty. Like this Ducks team has been really like slow. They've been really unpenalized. I mean, yeah, they take stupid penalties, but I want someone that's going to go over there and give it hell.
I love it. Give him hell.
Matt Rempe from New York. Matt Rempe. I want him on the team. Like, let's just screw everything up.
Rempe is like the Grim Reaper, dude. When I see that guy on,
I know.
I see that guy on the ice. I'm like, how can I skate away from this guy as fast as possible?
And you hate him. Like I do. That's what we need on the Ducks. I want
that guy, man. Holy shit, he is a monster on ice. But that's the thing. I mean, that this Marco guy is 6'6", 218. Holy crap, dude. And they're saying he could be a good quarterback on the power play. Could be a little bit more physical. But, yeah, I mean, if they don't get a forward, I don't think you can go wrong with Aitchison or Marca. You got two of those guys there, too, to look at. So it'll be exciting. I think the Ducks will still, if they don't trade up, they'll still do well at the 10th overall pick. I don't think you can go wrong with any of these five guys. Eddie and I are in agreement. I think McQueen is the one you go with. Martin's probably your second option forward. Then defense, I don't know. To me, I think I go with the big guy, Eddie, like you're talking about. I go with Marco, even though he says he could be more physical. I mean, he's 6'6", 218. That's my choice if you're going for defense.
Right? Mike, you know what? I was told, too, this is like trust me bro source, but McQueen actually had dinner with the Ducks management at Slaney Steakhouse. So maybe that factors in things, but
you know what's fun?
No,
I do have to laugh about that, though, because I forgot what it was. You put something out about, what was it? I can't remember what it was. You put something and people started running with it on social media, and you even put...
Oh, dude, I
laughed because you put "Trust Me, Bro," and then people were running with it. And I almost wanted to comment, but it was funny because it ended up being true. I forgot what it was. Now. I forgot because you.
Hey, the Gabranson trade. I got that true.
Well, that was crazy because we had just put out an article about him. And then the trade happened like an hour after we posted the article. That one was pretty crazy.
And I was the first one to break it. Like,
that one was funny. We were like, oh yeah. But I forgot. You put out something and I was laughing because you were kind of kidding. Oh, I think it was what was it? That the Ducks were talking, they were talking to somebody. I forget. And I forgot. Oh, man, I can't remember right now. But it was just funny. It doesn't matter who it was. It was just funny because it ended up being true. But yeah, if Eddie puts out "Trust Me, Bro" on the internet, or we say it on the show here, we're being somewhat sarcastic, like, or it's just some stupid rumor. Like, don't take it for real, okay? We're just messing around. Oh my god, this is hilarious. Okay, okay. Let me on that note. Let me do our little DraftKings spiel, and then we'll talk about the some NHL news. The Stanley Cup's going on, as you all know, some craziness. So again, we are part of the Hockey Podcast Network, and we have DraftKings as our sponsor. Unfortunately, it's about the NBA Finals on theirs. I wish it was Stanley Cup, but the DraftKings, the NBA Finals are also finally here, and this is your shot to win some real cash before the season ends. The simplest way is to get into action. Download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code THPN. That's code THPN. New customers play $5, get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78 888-977-9777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 is not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus award as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms pick6.draftkings.com/promos. So, all right, with that.
What an ad read. What a nice ad
I know.
read.
I'd rather just read it than do the damn audio like I was doing in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit of league news, and we'll talk about the Stanley Cup final, the crazy Stanley Cup final that's going on. So we talked about a lot of teams on the show. One team that we have not talked about has been the Washington Capitals, which I think I mentioned on the last show. I did go to that game, the last one when they got eliminated against the Carolina. I was in D.C. For work and was able to catch that game. And there was a little bit of drama with this team too. So you have Oshie announcing his retirement, Eddie, and then you had that email memo thing that was sent out where it sounded like Ovechkin was going to retire next season. Then it got retracted. So a little bit of craziness in Washington, but Oshie is definitely retiring, and we know that Ovechkin is definitely coming back at least next season. What are your thoughts on the Capitals and all of that?
Well, the whole thing, Mike, Ovechkin announced he was going to retire after that season. Like, he's going to go and play for, I think, a Moscow or whatever, like, Russian team that he played for before. He's going to go and do that. So I don't know why everyone, like, flipped out. I know that ticket rep was trying to sell tickets and doing that, but he announced it already. His wife announced it, too. Like, that's no problem. You know what? And Ovechkin, he has nothing else to prove. Like, he's a Stanley Cup winner. I want to say the greatest, or one of the greatest players in the world, the greatest Russian player in the world. So, congratulations to him, and I wish him all the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I just remember Oshie with all the crazy shootout goals and Team USA competition, like where he would just
against Russia too, against
right,
Russia.
and he would just like it was automatic. Here he goes, a goal. Here he goes, goal. Like So no, I wish him the best too. And Ovechkin, obviously back next season. He already broke Gretzky's record. I did buy a hat too with the $8.95 on it. It was a badass hat. I had to get it. I had to get it. They were selling it at the team store, which, by the way, if you have not been to other team stores around the league, some of them are not as good as the Ducks. I have to give mad props to the Ducks. If you remember, the Ducks' old team store was like a closet, and then they redid it, and remember it was real small. Now they have the one they have now is fantastic. You go in there, all kinds of stuff, right? You get the custom jerseys, all kinds of stuff in there. They have the team only store website. You can buy a bunch of stuff on there. If you're a season ticket holder too, you just have to fill out like a little form or a little thing and apply. But you can get your season ticket holder discount on the online store. But our store is fantastic. I hate to say it, but the Capitol store was terrible. I went into that store and ended up getting that hat, and there just wasn't anything in there but like Ovechkin jerseys. There just wasn't a variety. Like you go in the Ducks team store, you have stuff for little kids, you got stuff for women, you got hats everywhere. All like our team store, like we are very, very fortunate. The Ducks, that team store is loaded with so much stuff. It's awesome. The Capitals team store, it was like just a handful of jerseys, a couple t-shirts, and a couple hats. I mean, I went in that team store and I was really disappointed. I mean, I thought there'd be a lot more stuff there. So, I mean, I can't speak for all the team stores out there, but I've seen some of them, and I can tell you that we're very, very fortunate with that. So,
and shout out to Aaron too. Aaron works over there, a person that writes for us and does things for us.
Yes.
So he's always cool, and it's always a good conversation with him.
And our boy Mario too. Mario's over there too. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So we got a couple guys that sometimes they give us a little bit of info about stuff, but they're over there doing their thing. So, but yeah, we're very, very fortunate with that. So, okay, a couple of the league awards came out before the last Stanley Cup game. We'll talk about that too. I think this moment really got me, Eddie. Super touching was Shane Monahan with Johnny Gaudreau's wife presenting the award. If you weren't tearing up or had some kind of emotion in you, I don't know what would do it. But of all the awards, Eddie, that one, even as I talk right now, I get chills on my neck and stuff, man. I just like, whoa, that just, what a moment, huh?
Yeah, same here. Same here. I saw the video, and I started tearing up. I started crying. Like, I felt like a bitch. Like, what the hell? But
yeah,
it's so like, it just like speaks volumes of what hockey people and what we do. Like, I mean, we're hockey players, we're hockey fans. It's just that was just incredible and crazy, and it sucks that how Johnny Gaudreau passed away, or actually was murdered by a DUI driver. But it's just good that everyone can have one single moment and not be a fan of the Ducks, of the Bruins, of the Flames. We're just hockey fans at that moment. So that's actually really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the other awards, I'll kind of mention them just kind of real briefly. I guess kind of the bigger one that kind of pertains to the Ducks is you did have the Calder Trophy that went to Lane Hudson. You did have, I'm losing my mind right now. You had Cutter that was in that mix in the voting. You actually had Hellison get in there too. And you had Cutter Gauthier got the NHL rookie team for the season. He made that, and Hellison finished third in defenseman on the voting, just missing the team for the all-rookie team. So there was some interesting stuff there. Your boy Makar with the Norris Trophy there, not really a surprise. Jack Adams went to Spencer Carberry in Washington. Ted Lindsay went to Kucherov, and the Selke went to Barkov. Anything on those, Eddie, before we dive into the Stanley Cup and finish the show?
No, you took it over, and everyone that got the awards deserved it. Lane Hudson, that guy was freaking a beast. Holy crap. As a defenseman too, him getting that and how he played, I had him on my whole like Ducks and Pucks I guess like fantasy team too, and he just killed it. So congratulations to all of them.
All right, so the other part that's going on right now, we were recording this before Game 5, so if you're listening to it, we won't be talking about that game. But the first 4 games have been absolutely bonkers and crazy in the Stanley Cup Final. You had 3 out of 4 of the games go to overtime. Very close matches in the first 2. You had Florida really took Edmonton out of their game in Game 3. Like, Edmonton just decided to try to goon it up and get physical, and they ended up getting smoked. Game 4, Florida came out. They were up 3-0 in the first period, and I'll be honest, I thought Edmonton was done. The tide kind of changed in that game. They had a breakaway where Florida could have been up 4-1 in the second period. That didn't work out. Edmonton ended up coming back and scoring and getting within a goal, and then obviously tying and then going ahead. And then Florida scored in the final seconds, just like Perry had scored earlier in the games at home too, to force overtime there, and Edmonton ended up losing that one in overtime. But this time Florida scored late and then lost in overtime. All I gotta say is I watched all these games from beginning to end, Eddie, and this has been one of the most entertaining Stanley Cup final matchups in a while. I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat in these games. I mean, every game outside of Game 3, right, it has been decided in overtime by a goal. I mean, what more can you want? And just these two teams hate each other. Like, they played each other.
Oh, yep.
Big time. They played each other last year.
Keep saying that, Mike. Keep saying that again.
Well,
Holy
I mean, if you saw, like, Perry was getting into it, there were people on floor. I mean, well, actually, everybody was getting into it in Game 3, and it was just crazy. But for me, I think I kind of give Edmonton the edge right now, right? And I mean, obviously, this is, like I said, recorded before Game 5, but they've got 2 out of 3 games now in Edmonton. Edmonton lost the handle and flew off the wheels in Game 3. They reeled it back in, though, and were able to win Game 4 and pull back some more momentum there. So I give them the slight edge. I kind of lean towards Florida. Personally, I'd rather see them kind of win. That's how I feel. I'm not a fan of certain players on Edmonton, but if this doesn't go 7 games, I'd be absolutely surprised, Eddie.
No, Mike, this game is going 7 games. I told you, I tweeted this already. This game is going 7 effing games. Like, it's been a great Stanley Cup playoffs, and they're cool. Hey, Mike, you know what? I'm going to throw this out there right now. I know I'm throwing it out there, but in my beer league team, I won the championship.
That's right, you did.
You can give me a hand clap.
I forgot. I'm glad we mentioned that. That's right, you did win. I saw that. Yes.
Yeah, we won. It's been a year since he won, but you know what? What Edmonton and what Florida are doing, oh my god, it's great hockey. And if you watch their hits too, Mike, they're like having over 100 hits per game. That's crazy. That's nuts. Oh my god, this is gonna be a great Stanley Cup final. It's going game 7, and I'm here for it. I love it. I can't wait till the Ducks are in that moment one time, and they get that time.
Well, and it's like you said too. You look at these two teams, right, and the way that they're playing, and the way that things are going. You see the physical part of what's going on with these two teams, and that's why kind of our theme. And you've seen it with Verbeek. We kind of bringing this full circle as we wind up the show or whatever right now. But you see how physical they're getting, and that's what the Ducks are trying to do. You got to be physical, but you got to also have skill and score, right? So you bring in a guy like Kreider that can score on the power play. He gets in front of the net. You know, he says he loves to live out in front of the net. That's what we need. We don't have as many guys that are always just sitting in front of the net, setting up those screens, taking those hits, also dishing out cross checks back, going back and forth and things like that. You're seeing that on both sides of Edmonton and Florida in this series. That's why it's such a close series. And yes, the series going 7 games. I mean, they're fighting back and forth. There's skill on both teams, and there's physicality on both teams. They're going at each other like that. I think part of the problem for Florida is they need to stay out of the box, because that's what killed them. This last game, Edmonton was able to they should have kept the killer instinct in the second period, which they didn't. They didn't keep that killer instinct in that second period. But they also got some penalties, and Edmonton is lethal on the power play. So that's what the Ducks need to do, is they got to get back and get lethal on the power play. And that's going back to Kreider and why they brought him in. And that's why I'm thinking, too, that Verbeek's talking about improving all areas of this team. Special teams has been the biggest problem. The power play and the penalty kill have been atrocious the last couple seasons. They've got to get that better. You gotta be proficient on special teams. If A, you want to make the playoffs, and B, you want to go far in the playoffs, you want that power play to be around 20%. Anything less than that, maybe high teens, right? 17, 18, 19% good. But if you're only scoring 10% of the time on the power play, that's not going to cut it. Your penalty kill, you want to be at least around 80%. If you can be higher, great. If you're down in the mid-low 70s, that's not getting it done. That's not going to help you. You got to be there. I'm not saying that you can't be deficient in one or the other and get all the way and win. I mean, it's happened. But if you want to put your team in the best position outside of the 5-on-5 stuff, which we've dived into that on previous shows and all season long, but for the Ducks, they really, one of the key factors for them this next season, and you're seeing it play out in the Stanley Cup final with these two teams, is special teams play. And the Ducks are absolutely terrible at that recently. So Kreider comes in, he improves both of those. So looking at all those names and all those players, that's something else to look at, is who else can come in and help defensively on the penalty kill and offensively on the power play. But what a series. I watching these games, and I'm just on the edge of my seat. Every game other than game 3, because it was already a blowout, I'm sitting there like, who's going to win? I do laugh, though, because we'll be watching it, and I think I have to get off X or something when I'm watching these overtime games, because I'll see Elliot Freeman post the game-winning person, and I'm like, Elliot, hang on, dude. Like, I know you're there live, but it's like we're on like a 30, 40-second delay. And I saw that. I think it was game 1 or 2. 1 or 2. I think maybe it was, which one was it? I think it was game 2 when Florida won. And I was like, he posted Marchand had scored, and I'm like, dude, like, stop, man. Like, I hadn't even seen the play yet. So that's the only thing I might have to do. Moving forward, if these games go to overtime, I'm going to have to, like, log off X and then watch the overtime. So, because that's the only part that kind of ruins it for me, Eddie. But otherwise, man, what a tremendous series.
Oh, yeah, it's been amazing. Like, we've been, like, looking at this and witnessing this. It's crazy, Mike. It's been nuts. This series, like, it can go either way. Obviously, I want Florida to win. That's my personal opinion. But holy shit, it can go anyway. And I'll throw my F-bomb right here, but holy fucking shit.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, this...
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, the series can go either way. Like we can't dictate this series right now. It's so like crazy.
Yeah, I mean it could go either way, like Eddie said. I mean I would be happy if Perry and Henrique got a cup. Some of the other players on there, as I mentioned, I'm not a big a fan of, but I rather Florida win it again. I just love it. They had a funny towel too. They had a rally towel that they posted, and if you looked at it, it had like Tampa Bay on there. Yeah, it had a wrap, but it had the logos of the teams they beat in it. Like there was a leaf in the ear, a lightning bolt, and then the little Carolina thing was pretty hilarious. So, but yeah, a lot of stuff coming up. We'll wrap up the show here. As it, we'll probably not do until after the draft, till when that gets figured out. We can kind of do some analysis on that. So that's coming up here in like 2 weeks. And then, we'll see. But if there's another trade or something else comes up, then obviously Eddie and I will jump on the show and we'll break it down for you. So appreciate all the support, and we'll probably be back a lot sooner than most summer, probably doing more shows. So with that, thank you, everybody, for listening, and let's go Ducks.